Another long day. All right, so first I want to acknowledge the indigenous people of this land that's allowing us to talk about our indigenous practices. Okay, illustrating passion. I think that this is, with the earlier performances with Joel and talk about pain, I think this is gonna kind of wrap it up. And to me, it was inspiring to see the two today, and then with the context of the students here, because it is about the next generation, as we always say. We'll see a lot of themes like passion, culture, illustrating, things like that, which I hope that all of you will take home and take action. The thing that I'm going to talk about is how to take action, right? You take all this information, but what do you do with it? What is the framework and context? So, that's all. I was born in Manila, and just like a lot of Filipinos around my generation migrated over to this land here during the martial law days. So my grandparents took the whole family, my parents, my titas from Manila over to San Francisco. And we made our new home in the Mission District, Dolores Park, San Francisco. Anyone from the Bay? Hey! Yeah, so it's totally different now. Exactly. Highly gentrified now. Right? Back in the day, it wasn't. So that's where we made our first home. But eventually we moved to this tropical paradise called South City. So moved over to Balboa Park here in Daly City, South San Francisco. The joke, you're not from the Bay, say, why is it so foggy? It's because of all the rice servers up there. That's a joke. It's an old joke. So, but eventually, we moved to the East Bay into a house like this. This is actually the house that I grew up in. It was basic house, single level, 3 bedrooms. Typical of a suburban house. Like I said, we have this white picket fence. I grew up with a lot of different races, a lot of Mexicans, Koreans, Chinese, Cambodians, Polynesians. It was like, literally like a bit of time, right? So that dude, that's me. But the reality is that with this melting pot, or not melting pot, like salad bowl, where you can see all the different folks that I grew up with, throwing rocks at each other and all that stuff that kids don't really do nowadays. I was always jealous of, my Polynesian friends. I had a lot of Filipinos that took hula to Tahitian. I was going to actually be a Tahitian drummer, but I was this skinny kid and I was ashamed to wear the loincloth. So I didn't do that. But in a way, I was like, man, these guys look Filipino, but they have this cultural heritage that my Filipino family and friends and exposure didn't really have. So then when I went to Hawaii as a kid, people were like, hey bro, what school do you go to? And I was like, I don't know. I'm not wearing a bra. It felt like home, right? When I was a kid. And last year when I went back to Hawaii after a long time, it kind of had that reminder that, why does this feel familiar, right? So there's some sort of connection. It wasn't just a warm weather, but maybe being around brown people. There's just the language. But I was young, but I could not pinpoint it. So then one day I was in high school, and then they had us create a family tree. Want to see episode 2? You can relate to that, right? Yeah, me too. So I have a pretty big family that's here. So I have my titas and my, of course, yeah, your parents. Like, so how was it in the Philippines? What did you do? We went to school and, we did these things. That's it. Not much information, right? So I like to say, with this, I try to do my family tree. I have a lot of relatives. It wasn't deep, but it was wide. Mine was like a bush. It was wider than taller, right? Because I can only go up to my grandparents. And it took me like over a decade to get more information. That in fact, I just got information last Christmas from my titas. That, we had a naughty friar in our family tree. So, I mean, there's a saying that you look at a family tree, a Filipino family tree, just look at it, right? As you shake it, a couple friars will come out, and you will fall out. So that is something that, kind of like, gosh, I don't know who I am. When I was in high school, I was like, man, like my white classmates, their trees were like a redwood sequoia. I go back to right? And mine was just white ass bush with pitas and pitas. I couldn't go deep. Mine was just like, it was like a bush, literally. So then, I was questioning myself, like, oh man, I don't know who I am. Even though I've been exposed to like indigenous Filipino culture at festivals like Gary Valenciano and so that's my exposure growing up. But one thing happened, because I grew up in the 90s in high school, and this happened. The golden age of hip-hop. So, with the whole, you can imagine where every single rapper was like Kendrick Lamar. That was on MTV. Imagine a time like that. That was on the radio. You could hear things about, consciousness. So I really got into it, from Public Enemy, features, etc., and got into the root of it because, nowadays when you get music, you get on Spotify, Pandora, you don't get the notes that you used to get records or CDs and cassettes. They roll out like an accordion. Like, all right, I want to give props to this, and these are my teachers and things like that. You don't get that on Spotify or Pandora or YouTube. So I would look at the notes and see, who are these guys thinking? And I saw a couple names, and I looked them up, did some research, and got a lot into Black history and the Black struggle. And that kind of led me to Malcolm X. And I was starting to think he's talking about all these issues that I've kind of questioned myself, right? The awakening, who am I? Colonial slave mentality, things like that. And I was thinking, gosh, who's the Filipino Malcolm X? Who's that version? And back then I didn't really know. There wasn't that many resources. So, I know that I have a lot of Filipino friends with the last name Santos. Are they Spanish? Are they Spanish? Could a lot of Filipinos change their last names to X because they lost their indigenous last name? Due to taxes, they had to get a Spanish last name. All these things went in my head, but I couldn't really formulate it. But I started to form these ideas that kind of led to the current work that I do. And that reminded me when I looked up the org website here, Philippines, and I said, oh man, that is pretty cool. An evolution of kind of like these many things that are unknown, right? That crosses genders as well. So the ultimate question is who am I? We all go through this, right? And I guess when you're young, it's like we all go through this identity thing, but as you get older, what's going to happen is that people are going to ask, who are you? Or who am I? If you have kids, they're going to say, Daddy or Mommy, who am I? Or what are you going to tell them? Right? So that is always kind of the question. I'm still questioning myself now. To a certain extent. But in this age of discovery, it's always like who am I? What do I do? What's my passion? What is something that I'm going to continue on? Right? Whether it's dancing, or martial arts, tattooing, right? Or storytelling, oral tradition. There's so many things. Food, right? So, talking about passion. Before, this presentation is called Illustrating Passion. Based on what I've read about the, about the subject matter for this summit. But before illustrating passion, you need to find it, and a lot of it is, that is pretty hard. That is the number one, thing that I hear when I talk to, I guess, people, even not just in their teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, or 50s. Like, I don't know what my passion is. So, mine started out with this simple question. So I was in Chinatown in San Francisco with Lola, and I asked her, Lola, what's that funny writing on the walls? And he's like, that's how Chinese people write. I think I was about 8 years old. How do you write in the Philippines? You wrote in English. It just seemed weird to me. I didn't know that about the script or anything like that, but it just seemed kind of weird. Because he didn't look English, right? He didn't look white. Because I associated that with being white, English, and Roman alphabet. Because, to turn it back, when I was in grade school, I wasn't aware of my Filipino-ness until a white guy told me, what are you? So I said, dang, who am I? I didn't know. So I had to kind of figure that out, right? Because it was like, oh, are you Chinese? Are you this? Are you that? So it kind of forced me to answer them. But, after I did a lot of research at my grandparents' house, because they used to travel a lot, I found these old ancient books that no longer exist. So, I don't use anymore, they're rare. I went to the letter P. And when I went in there, I found this little flag. And that's the Katipunan flag, for that those don't know. And I thought it was the letter I. Because I knew that we were a Spanish colony by then, but I thought it was I for independence. I struggled to try and find the rest of the script because I went to a festival, I saw the flag and I went to this older man and I said, hey, that's a old flag. It says I for independence. Oh yeah, I didn't do it. No, that's our old writing system. I said, oh really? Do you have a chart? No, I don't. So I didn't have any, because this was before the internet, and I didn't have any reference. So I just, okay, I know there's this old writing. And back then I was trying to be like Indiana Jones, and I was thinking about majoring in anthropology and archaeology, and trying to be adventurous, but I couldn't find any information about this script. Until I took a flight to the Philippines. And I was supposed to stay there. The plan was to stay there for 8 months, but I ended up staying for 10 years. That's maybe it was more. But one of the first places I went was I walked over there because I didn't know how to take a jeep. So I walked there for an hour, and then I got a couple books. These are some of the first two that I got. That gave me context. I found a chart of the script. These 2 books gave me context. So, History of Filipino People and Passion by Renato Constantino. And Renato Constantino, to me, is the Filipino version of Marcos. So, but what happened was, a couple years after living in the Philippines, this great thing So I said, oh man, now I could troll people on the internet, yeah, exactly. Search about the script. So I Yahoo the script. This site right here is Paul Moro. He's a Canadian who is a linguist. He's not Filipino, a white guy in Canada. and corresponded with him, and that's where I learned the majority of the script. Here in LA, Hector Santos also, he just recently passed away a few years ago, but he wrote a lot about pre-colonial writing and culture. And that eventually led me to creating my own website. It was called Conscious Philippines on the service called GeoCities. Yeah, so what I did was I used the cock symbol that I discovered when I was a kid. So things that I would write about is about, it was kind of being a Phil-Am living in the Philippines. Some little nuances, like the thin straws, thin napkins, national books are they staple your bag 100 times, things like that. But eventually then, I decided to go back to America after about 10 years. So in America, I was homesick, right? I was homesick and I was like, oh man, I really miss the Philippines. So what can I do to somehow keep a hold of that memory? This Alex Figueroa, Dream Jungle Tattoo, LLC. So I contacted him to get a tattoo, and then I was telling him, I made a script, and he kind of encouraged me that, you should take it up, start writing it every day, practice, to get back into your part. I said, all right, so I did that. So when I did get the tattoo, I wanted to post it on the internet, but then Friendster wasn't really too... It didn't give me much options for discussion. So I set up my own website called UntightledChapter.com, strictly just to show off my tattoo and begin the dialogue. So within that, at that time, I was living in Tracy, California. If anyone knows where that is. Yeah, Love House, right? We got I-5, Love House, and buffets. So I was working at a call center, crappy job, and then people started asking me, hey, can you translate this, translate that? And I said, hey, what if I put in a $5 PayPal number? And if anyone would, do a translation. So it worked. So, okay, it worked. So I had a little side business going, and $5 became 10, and so on and so on. But then I didn't want the script only just to be associated with tattoos. That's something that is, visual, cosmetic. So I set up this website, Baybayin.com, to focus more on the art and education and propagation of the script. And so I separated the two. This is a chart. I'm not going to go into a full lesson because the script itself is easy. You can spend a day online on my website or anywhere else and know it. I mean, how many people know the basics of it already? Right? See, you can't learn it. So, but I wanted to talk about specifically, once you learn something, you learn dance, you learn tattooing, then what? Just keep it to yourself. You stay taking classes, and then what's the next step, right? If you want to take the next step. And that leads to passion being illustrated, something that's tangible. For me, illustrating my passion of the script led to these projects. There's a clothing line, a failed gender-neutral perfume or a scent. I called it siap, because he or she. I learned that the reason why CK1 is the most popular unisex scent because you can never get it right. It's either too manly or too womanly. But this is just something that I wanted to experiment with. I had an app that came out a few years ago, working on an online school. This is a screenshot of a documentary that I'm working on since 2010. It's called Sulat ng Malansang Isda, and that means writing of the stinky fish. So there's this, it's based on this line, hindi mamahal sa kanyang salita, mahigit sa hayop at malansang isda. Meaning that those that don't love their own language, aka culture, is worse than an animal and a stinky fish. By Jose Rizal when he was 8 years old. Supposedly. So that's the thing. We have a lot of information, but a lot of it is supposedly, right? And you could either put a lot of drama to it, and even though we know it's not true, we hold it near and dear to our heart, right? And that led to the the other projects, which are books. For college students, I think to me, a book is now the new business card. Because once you write a book, no matter how many spelling or grammatical errors there are that I put in because I'm not a writer, it gives you this instant credibility and gives you access. So, I would encourage you, if you're interested in anything or whatever your passion is, write a book about it. So, 2009, I wrote my first book, which is an intro to Baybayin, which is really just a collection of blog posts from my website. Second book is Untitled Chapter, Writing of the Soul, is a collection of commissions that I've had from different folks from around the world that I met during my travels. One side's a story, other side's a work. And then Kulai, which is the children's poetry. And then that led into other projects such as art, because art, is something that is visual. It is a candy that gets people in. This is an Asian Art Museum, 2012. And because of this passion, it led me to many different travels. US, UK, Belgium, Madrid, France, Japan, Philippines, and of course into faraway exotic lands such as Kansas City, Missouri. So if you really want to study the diaspora of Kansas City, it's interesting. We're kind of spoiled here in California. Go out to the Midwest and visit, and it's totally different. But I don't tell you that to brag, right? I tell you that to somehow I was telling the guys earlier that it feels kind of weird and cool being on a real college campus. Because I didn't go to a college. I went to a business school in the Philippines. After opting not to go to art school because they didn't think graffiti was an art. And so it was just kind of all right, I think that the people here can do better than what I do. That's what I'm hoping. But in order to do that, you have to find your passion, right? Because finding your passion, it is something bigger than yourself, right? It could be my passion is food, so I'm a foodie, right? But what is it something that's bigger than yourself? Something that can help the community, right? How does it affect, the people around you? Because if you find your passion, you ultimately find yourself, right? And when you find yourself, you can find your purpose. And besides the day that you were born, the clarifying, moment is when you find your purpose. Right? Oh my gosh, I found what I put on this earth to do. So I'm going to go through this passion sequence real quick. Take a look. I was going to check that one. So the typical interest sequence for any passion is the first track is cosmetic. Get tattoos, buy shirts, buy clothes. Then that could extend into the educational track, meaning buying books, attending lectures and workshops, participates in community discussions. Then after that, taking in information, you can become a practitioner, as Lane was talking about this morning, right? Whether you're writing the script every day, tattooing every day, dancing every day, practicing FMA, Kali every day, right? Or you have a business. Then the next step would be an advocate. So besides practicing every day, you're going out to the general public and advocating your practice. That's community leadership, conducts lectures, runs workshops, writes books, activism. So this could be separated into two different slots. So the cosmetic and educational is more or less consumer-based, right? And the other side is provider. So it's the job of practitioners and advocates to provide value to those who are within the cosmetic and educational track. That is a clear distinction. So Lane and Kajuel, their job as practitioners and advocates is to provide value, right? How many times have you gone to a festival and you see dances but you don't have context to it, right? It's more for entertainment value. This morning you had casual, give context, right? That's the value, because now you know deeper than, why do they dance that way, right? So, I mean, go beyond consuming, right? So beyond consuming, or just consuming all this information, and what are you going to do with it, you know? So truly find your passion. Be uncomfortable. Like I used to not like public speaking, little shy boy, but you know, you just had to get over it, right? So successful people, you know, are always trying to be uncomfortable because it helps you grow. Yeah, I experienced this failure. You know, now it's like a lot of, you know, now if you fail, like it's all over Facebook or Instagram, you know, hashtag fail, right? But, you know, you got to experience it in order for you to grow, to learn your lesson. You know, I've got hella failures, right? So I think that one thing is that you have to experience it. You can look at your struggles, right, and what can develop into your passion. Like my struggle growing up was identity, right? How can I identify as a Filipino or a pre-Filipino, or how do I work that out? You know, or you can also go, what makes you happy, which is obvious, right? Have a child's mind, be out there playful, ask questions, go out there, have fun. Now you could explore your talents, right? Everyone, you know, your mother might tell you, well, you're very talented, you should be a singer, right? You know, which is good, you know, that's true, right? Everyone has talent, right? Talent is everywhere, right? That's a given. But great opportunities are not. So if you have a talent and you have an opportunity, you better take that opportunity. Because that's the thing that's rare. I mean, I can count back and say the reason why I'm here is because I talked to a guy at a festival and I told him that I would curate an art show for a Filipino festival. And from there, that's when the dominoes fell. Got invited to Asian Art Museum. People at the consulate in Europe saw that Asian Art Museum performance, invited me there, and all of that. Just because I said yes to this guy, which I thought was kind of creepy. Don't tell myself that. But don't forget to dream, right? Yeah, I think that you know, a lot, especially with all the pressure in college, you got to go out there and dream. You know, I dream all the time. We were talking to Lane and Nicanor just during lunchtime, and we were complaining and talking about our dreams, right? It's not a lot of frustration. There's a lot of dreams, right? You have to kind of always remember that you have to dream and think big, right? And try and figure out how do I achieve those dreams. Or you can look at it this way, like how do I help someone achieve their dreams? So 2/21 to 16 is tomorrow. Right? Well, what are you going to do? After all this information that you've received from this morning's talks, the workshop panels, you know, and this, you know, just going to Netflix and chill tomorrow, or are you going to actually take action, right? You know, instead of consuming information, right? It's hard. I mean, I'm stuck in Netflix and chill all the time. It's hard. That is the number one enemy of being a culture here. Netflix and chill. So we got to watch out for that. So the fountain of youth is your legacy. We talked about that this morning, right? If you leave a legacy, you live forever. So,